Hello, and welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast, produced in partnership with the A.B. Corker Foundation for Mental Health. We are your co-hosts, Bridget
and Terry. Each week, through intimate, candid conversations with guests, we explore different perspectives on and experiences of depression. We keep it real because the illness is real. We keep it hopeful because there truly is hope, in spite of what depression tells you.
We are not experts or therapists. We are sisters and best friends who live with depression and have interviewed hundreds of other people who do as well. We've learned that hearing others speak openly and without shame about their experiences makes it easier to believe depression is a common and treatable illness, not a personal failing. You are far from alone.
Hello, Bridget.
Hi, Terry. Since we first found the blog post, 10 Ways to Reach Out When You're Struggling with Your Mental Health, we've read a lot of articles and listened to countless podcasts that all hammer home the point: if you need help, ask for it. But we've both been there and didn't. So we know it's not as easy as some sources make it out to be, which is why we are revisiting this particular information, created by mental health advocate and blogger Sam Dylan Finch.
When we spoke, Sam had just lost a close friend to suicide. He was having a hard time understanding why his friend hadn't called him for help when Sam himself is a suicide attempt survivor and would have understood. But then in his own grief and darkness following the loss, Sam realized he wasn't reaching out either. He also realized that while all the standard advice on when and how to reach out seemed simple, it was actually vague at best. In Sam's words, I hesitated to tell anyone I was struggling, largely because I didn't know how. I didn't know what to ask for. And without knowing, it felt too complicated and too futile to ask.
So Sam wrote a detailed, practical list of what to say and the specific kind of support to ask for, giving us all the language to use when we're in distress or crisis and need something or someone to help us through it. It's information we just don't hear, and having it at our fingertips in a crisis could make a world of difference.
This is an episode we have posted before. It is an episode we will post again because we think that Sam's ideas are real-world tested and very important for us to have up our sleeves if and when the time ever comes that we need to reach out.
Here is Sam Dylan Finch with the second half of his fabulous list, giving his voice to depression.
Sam begins with some critically important questions that frame the need for a list such as his in a care system as flawed as ours is.
What can we do to help people stay alive? What kind of tools can we give people that don't rely on waiting for a psychiatrist appointment that could take 3 or more months, or waiting for a therapy appointment that's coming at the end of the week, or any number of barriers that exist because the system as it is situated doesn't always have immediate support in the ways that people actually live their lives actually need that support. So any tools that we can offer people to help them figure out how to navigate these situations.
The tools Sam is providing are specific, suggested language, phrases that could get us the help we need and save us the stress of trying to come up with the wording when we're in a dark and unresourced place. We pick up with number 6, which is, I'm having a hard time taking care of myself. I need extra support right now around, and then name a specific task. Can you help?
I know that one of my big triggers when I'm going through some kind of episode is that if my apartment is a mess, everything feels about 10 times worse. And I think it's really valuable too, because to be honest, I don't think every single loved one in my life is necessarily equipped to help me when I'm in some kind of difficult space. But I'm pretty sure most of my loved ones can come over and help me hook up my cable box or help me do the little things that could improve my quality of life.
There are so many levels on which this one makes sense, right? The person who's struggling gets some needed help. The person helping gets to lay eyes on them, see their place, and get a feel for how they're doing and what other support they might need. And people who want to help but just didn't know how now have a specific requested way.
I think you would be surprised by how many people are actually willing to mop your floor if they know that you really, really need that, and that's a concrete way that they can help.
No matter what depression may be telling you about no one caring or you not being deserving of kindness, Sam reminds us that it is okay to ask for a hand. Helping make an appointment, getting your laundry done, going to the grocery store together, whatever would help you move forward. Number 7 on Sam's list of suggested ways to reach out is saying, I've been feeling low. Could you please remind me about what I mean to you or share a favorite memory? It would really help me.
And I thought, how powerful would that be if someone were to ask for that from their support systems when they're in a really difficult place? Because arguably that's the moment in which you most need to hear those things. And I also think it's great because there are so many instances in which we don't really want to tell people like, oh, I'm having this really, really difficult time. So to be able to like make it into something kind of fun, I just think is brilliant because you don't really have to be vulnerable in that situation. You can just say, I'm feeling low. You don't have to say why or how. And then you can invite people to contribute something, whether it's like a memory they have of you or something that they value about you. And I think that any time that you can kind of protect your heart and get something really, really nourishing in a difficult place is a really great approach.
And that outreach may feel smaller or safer than some of the others on the list. And again, it would counter depression's messaging that you don't matter to anyone. It could prompt a mini version of your own It's a Wonderful Life.
I really like the idea of reminiscing as a form of healing because I think those blinders can come up so quickly. And so to be able to reach out to someone and reminisce and remember the life that exists outside of that kind of enclosed space that mental health crises can kind of put you in, I think that's really valuable. That can be over coffee, that can be over FaceTime, that can just be like an email that you send.
Number 8 is near the other end of the spectrum. This one's designed to sound an alarm. Sam says this is the one to use when your survival instinct is letting you know you're too close to the edge for comfort. Say, I'm struggling right now, and I'm afraid I'm reaching my limit. Can you give me a call? And then say exactly when, whether that's right now or tonight, whatever you need.
So this one was really difficult to put on the list because I realized from experience and also thinking about my friend that what happens when you're suicidal and you realize that you're at the end of your rope? How do you tell people that? How do I introduce something that's really scary in a way that doesn't catch someone off guard, but also really honors that this is an urgent situation? And so trying to figure out what those words would look like, someone can adapt this to whatever language is natural for them.
Number 9 on the list acknowledges that not everyone has a very close support network. Sam's suggested language in that situation is, I know we don't talk much, but I'm going through a tough time and I feel like you're someone I can trust. Are you free to talk? And then again, name a day and time.
We think that the only people that we can talk to are these really established relationships of people that, you know, you've already had these lengthy investments in, but that's not always available to you. And I like the idea that if there is someone that's kind of on your radar as someone that you've thought about being close to, I don't actually think it's ever too late to reach out to someone and just see what kind of support they might be willing to offer. Relationships can unfold in all different kinds of ways. And sometimes it's very true that a crisis or a difficult time can bring people together. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It can be really helpful to cultivate those relationships.
Sam acknowledges that in it, you might not feel you have much to offer to a newer relationship, but you can't let that stop you from reaching out if and when you need to.
Because I know people who will go through depression that lasts years and years and years. So when are they supposed to develop a support system? if you wait until you're like what you think of as like the ideal state to be enough for someone, you're going to be waiting a really long time because, there's always some extra step to go in recovery or growth. I think believing that you're worthy of friendship right now and reaching out to those people that you already have a sense that you could get along, and really asserting for yourself that you're worthy of those connections, however you happen to be that day, is really, really important.
And Sam's final and most critical suggestion is for when subtlety is neither appropriate nor safe. In the same way we're taught to be direct in asking someone if they're suicidal, if you're that someone, it's time for straight talk. Say, I'm suicidal. I need help right now.
At least for myself, when I've been suicidal, sometimes I've been really reluctant to say anything, and I forget that sometimes an emergency is just an emergency. And that at a certain point, if it's a life and death situation, it warrants action, and action without apologies. If it's the difference between life and death, there is no reason to apologize, no reason to hesitate. It is okay to just say, I'm suicidal, I need help right now. Keep asking, keep stating what's going on until someone listens without apology, without reluctance.
If you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I just could not do that, or I wouldn't want to be a bother or burden someone, realize that is stigma talking, not your much-needed survival instinct.
If you drove your car into a lake and the car is sinking and you're just trying to figure out which way to swim, I don't think anyone is going to judge you when you emerge from the murky depths and you wave down a boat. I think at that point, people are like, let's get you out of the water. And I think similarly, when you're suicidal and you're finally at that point where acting feels inevitable, it's the same thing. If you say, I need help right now, it's an emergency. That's what it is. Because oftentimes we look at mental health struggles sometimes as like some kind of personal problem. There comes a point where it's an emergency, and it is absolutely okay to respond to it as you would any other emergency.
Sam and every single other person who has lost someone to suicide will tell you without hesitation that they would rather have been called at any hour of any day or night and been bothered than have lost a life they cared about. If you don't believe anything else we've ever said, believe that.
Really and truly, if my friend had called and had said any number of the things on this list, there's nothing I wouldn't have done, because I would so much rather than be alive. And at the end of the day, that is really, really very important, is staying alive.
Oh, Terry, believing you are worthy, that's the bottom line. It's so base.
It's base unless you're completely depleted by depression and convinced you're not, and that everybody's better off without you, and then it's not, then you got to really reach for it.
Totally.
Yeah. It's all just such good advice. And he talks a lot about, because now we're up to the, later numbers on the list where it's a more critical situation, but make these asks, call out for help, say you don't want to be alone, say you're having a bad time way before you're in a suicidal crisis, way before your basement's flooded, as he used as a metaphor, because nobody would wait until they were nearly dying of cancer to ask for what they need. So we have to treat this the same way and just be able to, maybe we're back to saying, believe I deserve the support to get through this.
Exactly. And I can say, I have tried one of these suggestions, and that was reaching out to a friend and asking them to kind of mirror back my value or to me or their experience of
the
me.
Healing through reminiscence that he said? Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the time, my brain was just telling me horrid things about myself, like only horrid things about myself. And I knew I needed to stir in some positive reality-based observations that I wasn't able to conjure up within. So I actually printed it out and I kept it, and I assume there will be another day in the future that I'll need to pull that out and be reminded of my value. But it was a great exercise for me.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that. I can write you a whole book if you ever need it.
Ooh, I'd love it. I'll print it.
And we will be linking to this entire list, all 10 points, and Sam's blog as well. They'll be on both our Facebook community page and our website, givingvoicetodepression.com.
And Sam, I so appreciate your candor and keeping it real. Thank you.
And just his wordsmithing. I love the word choice. It just really resonated with me.
Me too.
All righty. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Bridget.
Bye, Terry. Love you.
I love you too, hon.
We truly hope that our podcast brings a little more understanding, helps you better articulate your experience of depression, or better understand how to support someone else's.
We invite you to join us for daily posts on the Giving Voice to Depression Facebook page and on Twitter and Instagram at Voice Depression. It is a comfort to be among fellow travelers on depression's dark road.
And remember, if you're struggling, speak up. If someone else is, listen up.